right. Having trouble typing. I was trying to reply to Danny and messed it all up. What's up, Danny? Good to see you as always. Hello, howdy ho, howdy ho. Everything seems to be up and running. Although my sound on another platform was off because it was the one thing that I forgot to check, of course. But I had it. I fixed it. Anyway, so happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday. It is Saturday, May 2nd, 2026. And, between yesterday and today, there was supposed to be sort of a no buying stuff day and all that stuff. And I pretty much adhere to it. I did go live last night, so I don't know if that ruined everything. Although I doubt it. I think the 4 people we had on my live last night, I don't think that did anything. What's up, Cherry? But I'm feeling so good that I'm wearing festive colors. Look at this. Instead of my usual array of either light gray, medium light gray, dark gray, or black, which is generally my palette for clothing, I'm wearing this sort of a teal kind of color. I think it's teal. I don't know. But I feel good about it. It's putting me in touch with my feminine side, which is probably why I can't stop touching myself. Hi-oh! So, and I'm awake. That helps a lot. I'm awake. I did have a little bit of caffeine gum about a half hour ago. So that's nice. But anyway, so people are starting to work their way in. So I've got 2 songs I want to play for you. Now, the first one, I am not going to tell you who it is. I want you to tell me in the chat. As soon as you know it, just bark it out. But I can almost guarantee you that you're not going to guess right. Ooh, intriguing. So, the gauntlet has been thrown down. And here we, if I could just get my mouse in the right place, go.
I like to read his mind, but I'm frightened of the things I might find. Oh, there must be something he's thinking of to tear him away. When I tell him that I'm falling in love, oh, why does he say, hush, hush, keep it down now, voices carry.
Any guesses?
Hush, hush, keep it down now, voices carry. Oh, oh. I try so hard not to get upset, because I know all the trouble I get. Oh, he tells me tears are something to hide and something to fade. And I try so hard to keep it inside so no one can hear. Hush, hush, keep it down now, voices carry. Hush, hush, carry. Hush, hush, oh darling, she's not over here. Hush, oh hush, and voices carry. He said, shut up. Oh, he said, shut up. Oh, God, why can't you keep it down? 'Cause voices carry. Hush, oh, hush, voices carry. Voices carry.
Oh, yeah. Now, all right. So that song was a cover, and I'll tell you who sang it in a moment. The original was released in 1985, March 1985, right? So 41 years ago. And the band was Till Tuesday, and the singer who wrote most of the song, Amy Mann. Well, I don't know if that was her singing on the original record, but anyway, she wrote the song. Amy Mann, of course, is a famous singer-songwriter, married to Michael Penn, Sean Penn's brother, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? However, the interesting thing is that, the lyrics are hush, hush, voices carry. Amy Mann was kidnapped as a child. And I forget whether it was her parents kidnapped her or her step-parents kidnapped her. I forget exactly what the details were. But she was kidnapped, and it took her years to start talking again. And then when she was 10, she started playing instruments and stuff. I think she started playing the bass. And then she wrote Voices Carry. Wild, right? However, that was not her or the band performing that song. That song was being performed by Kate Hudson. That's right. Goldie Hawn's daughter, Bill Hudson's daughter. Kate Hudson. And, of course, Kurt Russell's stepdaughter. She has quite a fucking voice on her, right? Pretty amazing stuff. So let me get this going over here. Hold on. Boop, boop. Okay. So all of my technology is up and a-running now. So let's get the party started. Let's start by bringing Danny up here. And we'll see what's going on in his part of the world. Hey, Danny, what's cooking?
Oh, just sitting here looking like this.
So I guess I have to ask, looking like what?
Old man sitting in a chair.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Well,
That's
listen,
me.
we're age only goes in one direction, right? So what are you going to do?
That's it. Nobody's
And
getting out of here alive.
right,
So.
and the alternative sucks. So better to be old than not here at all, I suppose.
That's the word of the day.
So is that a song that you were familiar with?
Nope, was not.
All right.
It was a nice song. Don't get me wrong. I just never heard it before. That was the first time I'd ever heard it.
And I had mentioned that I had two songs, and I forgot to play the second one before bringing you up, but that's okay. We can get to that shortly enough.
Yeah, you can play that in the middle of the diner, so it kind of feels like we're in a diner listening to a song every once in a while.
I used to do that a lot, especially when I was dating my first wife. We would actually wind up at the diner, usually at around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, after a night of dancing and drinking and other substances. And we would put quarters in the jukebox and sing DeBarge songs and well whatever songs we wanted to. But I remember that there was a waitress there who who liked how we sang so much that she would give us quarters when we ran out.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And I was like, "Oh wow, that's pretty wild! Like that never happened before or since then." But that
yeah.
was a lot of fun.
I had a
My
bartender did that.
oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He
nice.
liked to. She liked to hear me sing when I was in the VFW, especially. So if she'd give me the microphone. They had a microphone for public, the tell people in the bar special events and stuff. And all of a sudden, she's sees that I'm there, and all of a sudden I get the microphone. And people are putting quarters in the jukebox. So that was fun.
No,
Got a lot of
so
free beers out of it.
well, that's the best. So, what would you say? Did you sing all sorts of tunes, or did you have kind of standbys that you would go to every time?
Mostly standbys. Yeah, people would, 'cause they knew what I liked to sing and how good I sang it. So they were always putting quarters in there to play Ray Price or Charlie Pride or something like that or Jim Reeves. So they
When
always,
we
and
get
then every once,
behind closed doors.
yeah, that one too. And then every once in a while I do. I left my heart in San Francisco, stuff like that. So Tony Bennett. So and Dean Martin.
Do you
Everybody
know
loves
that
somebody.
that song almost never got recorded?
I heard that. Yes, I have heard
Yeah,
that before.
it was sitting in a drawer for years, and a few studios passed on it, and
Hmm.
then somebody found it somewhere somehow, and
Right,
Tony Bennett wound up recording it, and then of course other people wound up recording it, but became a hugely famous song, which I find amazing. Like these songs that we kind of take for granted, especially if you grew up in that era, as
right.
being legendary songs, right?
Yep,
The younger folks don't know about it, which is fine. We don't know about their shit. So, but uh, even though we can't imagine a world that didn't have that song in it, and yet it almost didn't exist.
right, right. Well, of course, then I sang with Marty Robbins a couple of songs at the Holiday Inn there in Pier after I had dinner. Him and I actually sang a couple of songs together, which was a lot of fun, and it was his songs. So it was fun. He had been doing the Fort Pier rodeo there across the river, and Pier and Fort Pier, even though it's two separate towns and two separate time zones, that was always weird. The bars were open later in Fort Pier because they were on Mountain Standard Time, and we were on Central Time in Pier. So we closed the bar and Pier, and then we go over to Fort Pier, the Silver Spur, for another hour or so. So that was always fun.
That is a
But
real commitment to partying.
hey, I was at that age. I was rocking and rolling. 28, 29. So
That's
30.
that's I think that's what your 20s are for, man. Your teens and 20s are just I mean, I don't want to be inconsiderate in saying this, but I think reckless is a good word for how I was when I was in my teens and 20s. I mean, there's a photo of me in my yearbook hanging out a second story window. That wasn't an accident. We actually did that on purpose just for the photo. And
Right.
it makes no sense for me to have done that. And if you would suggest that to me today, I'd tell you to go fuck yourself. But
Yeah, pretty
it
much.
was a
Yeah.
great idea then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Compared to what I used to do and what I do now, you wouldn't think I was the same person. So
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, we're not theoretically. I would say we're really not the same person, especially if you consider that every 7 years, every cell in your body is replaced.
right.
So we are literally not the same people.
Yeah.
And with any luck,
Yeah,
you
well,
grow and you get wise. Although wisdom is not guaranteed with age. I don't believe that age and wisdom don't go together. People talk about it as if they do, but I know for a fact that they don't. But you hope that as you get older, you acquire some wisdom.
right. Well, you hope so. And one thing about getting old is that, and you probably have already noticed it because you sit a lot alone. Even though I do sit with Carol, but there, even when I go to bed early or she goes to bed early, we sit. We basically are sitting alone, and we have a lot of time to think, and we think a lot about what we should have done and why did we do it, and then you think about, well, because we don't have a lot of years left to think forward, so we always think in the past, and that's that can be good or bad, you know but the overall part of it is that we're here to learn a lesson. I ain't figured it out yet, uh, but
Well, that's assuming that that's what we're actually here for, right?
yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying. What mission, I have no idea what mission I was sent here as a baby when I was born.
my point is that what if you weren't sent for a mission at all?
I might not have been. Hell, I might have been. Oop, we didn't mean to send him out here. You know, I might
Well,
have been a
how
mistake.
about nobody was meant to be sent out here? You know,
That's true. I
you know.
think we're in a matrix. I don't know where the hell we're
Well,
at.
let's say that what we see is what is, right? We see a
Right.
planet that's spinning through the universe, and let's assume that that's real. It's not a construct. It's not a computer simulation. This is real life, right? But just because we're here doesn't mean that there is an inherent meaning to it. Now, that is not my way of saying that there is no meaning to it. What I'm saying is that there's not necessarily a meaning to it. It just could be, just like Descartes used to say, I think, therefore I am. And I disagree with that. Even though that's a famous saying by a famous philosopher, I happen to disagree with that quote. I think the more accurate way to describe our life or our lives is I I am, therefore I think,
Hmm.
right? Now, what you talked about is interesting. The idea of thinking about what you were supposed to have done. I think that can be extremely frustrating. Um, and I also think it's a waste of time only because you can't go back and fix anything, right?
That's true.
And I believe, like, okay, this is the example that I use when I'm coaching people. Um, if you're holding your keys in your hand, right,
Hmm.
and you do this, your keys are going to fall to the ground, right?
Correct.
Would anybody looking at that say that wasn't supposed to happen?
No.
Right. And so that the only thing that happens is what was supposed to happen. Now, what you learn from that varies tremendously. What you learn from your past is what Shakespeare was talking about. You alluded to it earlier. You said it could be good or bad. Well, what's the difference between good and bad? What you
Right.
decide, right? If
Right.
you look at an incident and you go, oh man, I really fucked up, or I hurt myself, or I hurt that other person, or I made a mistake, or whatever it was, and you go, well, that was bad, well, then it's bad because you decided that it was bad, right?
Right.
And if you look at that situation and you go, you know what? I hurt this person, I made this mistake, I fucked up, whatever. And then you go, but I learned to be a better person because of that, because I didn't want to do that anymore. So is it still bad? Or did you get something good out of it? So, yeah, the incident is what it was. Somebody got hurt or you hurt yourself. But
Hmm.
if you decide, well, thankfully, that taught me never to be that way again, then maybe overall it's a good thing.
Right. Yeah. That's why I said that when you're I'm at the age now where I have more time to think about things. Where a lot of people, when 20 years ago I was working, I wasn't thinking about a lot of stuff because I was busy. I was doing things, and my health, I could still do a lot of things, even my fun things that I wanted to do. But now at this age, at 75, going on 76, I can't do much anymore. I sit here a lot and wonder a lot of things, like you're saying. If I had done this different, would have made a different thing, different path out. Of course, I think about my mom and dad, my brother, and people I've lost, my grandparents, great grandparents, and stuff that I had, and it's a lot to think about. Plus, pets. Carol and I the other day was just thinking about our pets that we've had since we've been together, and not counting the ones I had before, and how much we missed them and the things that they would do, and we'd laugh about the Tigger chasing Gizmo and Gizmo playing with Tigger and Pip and all that. So you think about stuff because you ain't got nothing else to do because you can watch TV and still think about things. You can be on TikTok and still think about things. Or I'm sitting there playing. I got a farm game on my iPad right now because I do a farm game to keep my mind busy on stuff, but I'm still thinking about things. This time of the month, I'm paying bills. I'm thinking about where I have on how much money do I have to stretch to get through all this, this month. And I just ordered groceries last night, which I didn't order probably 24, 25 items, and it was $200.
It's nuts.
You know, it's nuts. And there was no meat involved, nothing of high, stuff like that. There wasn't any. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, I rambled. I was on.
No, no worries. No, this is what Diner Night is all about. Just fucking bullshitting.
Yeah, I
Um,
got a little serious thing about thinking that, can we do a, I don't have a lot of else to do but think, you know. I'm lucky I
well,
can still think.
well, that's another thing too. But here's the thing: like when I was at my busiest, meaning full-time job, married, raising a son, all that other stuff, I still was thinking about stuff all the time.
Right,
There's plenty of time where even though you're quote unquote busy, you're like, let's say, I know this was true for me, and I'm pretty sure it was true for you as well. You're in your car, you got windshield time, right? You're driving from
right.
one
I
thing
had
to
a
the
lot of
next.
windshield time.
Yeah,
Yep,
and you have time to think. And when you're brushing your teeth, when you're taking a crap, whatever it is, there's always time to consider your life. And I know Socrates, I think it was Socrates, said the unexamined life is not worth living. I'm not sure if I could agree with that literally, but I definitely get the spirit of that quote. I think that for me, I know this for me, if I had not thought about my life and made changes, my life would have been a disaster.
right,
So I think about my my life all the time. And even like I said, even when I was at my busiest, I still did it. I thought about
yep,
ways to be a better person. What habits do I have that are hurting me? What ways am I behaving? Because when you listen to two people argue, what always strikes me is that they both think they're right,
right.
and chances are, I mean,
Yes, please.
not to bifurcate it in such a simple way, but chances are one person's right, one person's wrong. And of course, there's a lot of gray area where like one person could be partially right, another person could be partially right, but they both think they're right. And
Right,
it's rare for someone when confronted, like if someone goes up to you and says, "Hey man, I don't like that thing you said to me the other day." It's rare for
right,
someone to just be like, "Oh, maybe I messed up. Let me listen to what they're saying." Instead, they're like, "Well, what do you mean I did something wrong?" Blah, blah, blah. They get defensive right away. And that to me is a very immature characteristic to have. Like to think that you're right 100% of the time, that's just childish. Of course, you're
Yeah,
not
it
going to be
is.
right 100% of the time. You're lucky if you're right half the fucking time. You know. Speaking of which, Traffic Man, what's up?
Hey, speaking of people who are right 100% of the time,
There you
I'm
go,
here.
right
No,
on
just kidding.
time. So
You're
you
right.
said just look at the president. LOL. What does that mean?
Oh, that was in reference to the age and wisdom.
Oh, gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I count my stepfather among them. My stepfather believed the Warren Commission report on the JFK assassination,
Sure. No,
but
no,
we had
I
a
agree. Yeah,
bitter fucking argument about that one day. I think I was about 18 years old or so, and I was like, "What do you mean you believe the report?"
well, I mean something a little bit more. What's the right term? Um, Anecdotal. I guess we can go with that.
If that were
Um,
a word, sure.
Sorry, anec- whatever.
Anecdotal. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Um,
But I like your Dr. Seuss version of it,
well,
anecdotal.
that's all right. Yeah.
You got to quit talking that
I will not eat
hillbilly shit from
green eggs and
Ohio.
yeah. It's that Southern Ohio on the river coming through.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the hillbilly
um,
shit.
but no. I remember uh, my father when we went around to a couple different colleges here, and one of them was like, "Oh, you could be an auto mechanic. You could be an auto technician. Excuse me, that's the proper term. And if you make $20 an hour, oh, that's really good." And granted, this was 25 years ago, and I remember my father was like, "Holy shit, son, $20 an hour. That's amazing, starting off." And blah blah blah. And I remember looking at him and going, "I can't buy a house with $20 an hour." And it was that to the age, the experience, and all that stuff from his perspective. $20 an hour, especially starting out, was like that's the best job you could ever imagine and stuff. And I'm like, this isn't going to work out because starting wages in the market are like $12 an hour, and what am I gonna save with that? There's no saving. And blah, blah. But anyways, yeah,
So basically, what you were saying is that he was sort of stuck in his time frame of reference and didn't realize that time had moved on, and he was 100% right that when he was growing up, $20 an hour was out of this
oh,
world. My
absolutely,
first job, I think I made $3.65 an hour. So this is back
right,
in 1979. That was my
sure,
first job. Okay.
yeah,
So and it was that for a little while, even when I turned like 18 and got into like fast food and stuff, it was still around that same amount, you know? And so if I were to use that frame of reference, I would say, well, damn, it's 725 now. That's phenomenal.
right,
But
exactly,
if I don't take into account the fact that it's been 725 for 17 years come this July,
yeah,
that's a fucking problem.
exactly,
you know?
correct,
So, yeah, that I think part of wisdom is understanding that you never step into the same river 2 days in a row. That time always moves things and changes things, and your frame of reference isn't necessarily valid anymore.
right,
And I think it takes a lot of humility for someone to accept that.
right. And we're currently dealing with a recent argument with my parents about that. Um, but it's the same type of situation where my wife and I are making. I want what I figure out. It was like 72% based on inflation and cost of living and everything. I broke down this whole Excel file just to like show my mom and be like, "You stop, telling me I need to go buy a $500,000 house," uh, because
Well,
in
again,
1991.
that's old
Well,
school
right.
thinking. It's
Yes.
old school thinking. And by the way, that's part of the propaganda that America sells you. That home ownership is the be
Correct.
all end all of the American dream. When the fact is, when you look at the studies, because I looked, a bunch of colleges did studies, economic colleges and shit like that, Harvard, all this shit.
hmm
They did a bunch of studies, and it's very clear that home ownership isn't always a great idea.
Right. Right.
There's a lot that depends on it, because what people don't factor in, and you'll hear stories like this all the time. They don't factor in what kind of loan they took out and how long. They don't factor in, like, the people that took ARM mortgages in the early 2000s got fucked
hmm
royally in
Yeah.
2008, right?
That was my aunt and uncle. Yeah.
There you go. And also people don't take into account the TCO, the total cost of ownership, because
Right.
it's not just your mortgage, it's the taxes on top of that, and that can change on a whim, right?
Yeah.
But also the repairs. That's what, a lot of times, that's really what fucks people up, is suddenly your boiler breaks down. And I think this happened to Danny not too long ago. Your boiler fucks up, and suddenly you got to come out of pocket. That's why I love renting, because
Yeah.
anything that fucks up, I don't have to touch and I don't have to pay for.
Well, something similar. If it wasn't for the fact that I have tools and enough of a handyman knowledge, when my water heater, the bottom of the water heater rotted out finally. I think it was put in the house in 1981, and in 2010, I woke up to the water running in my basement, and I ran downstairs, freaking out, trying to figure out what it was. And here it was, the water heater. So I shut the water off. Luckily enough, I had enough money saved up. I could go to like Home Depot, get a comparable water heater, bring it home, and swap it out. But I mean, that's just I attribute that to my mechanical ability, my education I've had with that, with the automotive stuff. It's pretty similar, but the average person, their water heater blows up. They don't have the tools I have. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, and I don't have the knowledge of how to fix the fucking thing. I'd have to
Sure.
either hire somebody or go on YouTube University and cross my fingers.
Yeah, right.
Oops,
Oh,
not supposed to mention that platform. Damn it.
How much did that cost you?
back then it cost me, I think it was like $385.
You know how much it cost me
I
this here?
I'm sitting down.
$6,000. $6,000.
God,
Yeah, it's
for
nuts.
$6,000, you could have bought me a plane ticket. I would have flown out there and done it for you. God.
Crazy.
But no,
It's
yeah,
absolutely nuts.
yeah. When I had bought my house, it was, I don't want to say it was in disrepair. That's not the right word, but it was aged, right? And I needed new floorings. I needed a whole bunch of stuff. The kitchen needed updated, bathroom, everything needed updated in the house, all this and that. And I had just enough money to afford the home. Like at the end of the week, I maybe had $50 to put together. You know what I mean? That included the house payment, the bills, yada yada yada. And my mom, my parents were always confused. Why don't you just go to Home Depot and buy flooring? And I'm like, well, I can't buy $800 worth of flooring because bills, And they're like, well, you're making, and this was at the time, you're making $15 an hour. Why can't you afford this?
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
fucking hate conversations like this when people try to get into my fucking business. Like, why are we talking about this? This is my fucking house, and I'm paying the fucking bills. If I say I can't afford it, I can't afford it. You don't have to try to convince me that I can afford something that I know I can't afford. Like, it's a dumb fucking conversation. But it's this type of conversation that parents have no problem having with their children. Where
Yeah,
at a certain point with my mother, I was like, mind your own fucking business.
yeah. That's
Like
actually where
Tim
we are
Walsh
right
with a
now.
little
Correct.
edge.
hmm When I first moved in, I'll give you this, and we can move on to something else if you want. But when I first moved in, I was here for maybe a year or so, And then one weekend I went camping with my friends, as one does in Ohio because there's nothing else to do. And I was 4 counties to the west. I was probably a good hour and a half away. And 11:30 at night, we had all been drinking all day. So like I'm in the bag at this point, and my phone rings and it's my mom. And I think, oh God, something bad happened. So I answer the phone, and somehow I got cell phone connection in the middle of whatever county it was, and Knox County. And I was like, okay, I was like, what's up? And my mother said, I'm so ashamed of you right now. And I was like, like what? I'm drinking? Like what? What is it? And she's like, your father and I came over to your house to clean. And we were so ashamed over the fact the way that you had dirty clothes in the basement and you had stuff on the bed that wasn't put away. And I was like, okay. So I hung up. And then that Sunday when I got home, I immediately went to the home improvement store and bought all new doors, all new locks on for every door, and replaced all the locks.
Did this happen last year? Because I remember this.
No, no, this happened like 15 years ago.
Oh,
but
I think you
I
told us
probably
about
mentioned it
last
before.
year.
Yeah.
No, well, that was the smart move. Like, people talk about everybody loves Raymond,
Sure.
hugely successful show, and it was actually based in the town right next to the town that I grew up in on Long Island.
Okay.
And they, this idea that his parents could just walk in any time. I'm like, yeah, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
Like like my son has the keys to my place,
Sure.
but I told him what the fuck is his name? Oh shit. The guy in Friday, Chris, whatever his name is. There's Ice
Chris
Cube
Rock?
and
No.
not Chris
Oh,
Rock.
no. Rush Hour Chris.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when he looked at that chick and he was like, they were negotiating dating, and he's like, "But never, ever, ever, ever come around here again."
Yeah, right.
That's how it is with my son. It's like, yeah, you have the keys to my place, but don't you fucking just show up. You give me an hour lead time before you want to come over here.
Exactly. Like, give me a heads up.
Yeah. So yeah. I commend you for protecting your privacy and teaching your parents a lesson. You got to do it. You got to do it once in a while. Like they like, hey man, I get it. You brought me into the world, blah, blah, fucking blah. But remember, I never asked you for that. So don't act like I owe you anything.
Right.
That's a thing parents hate when I talk about it. And I'm like, hey, your children didn't ask to be here. Don't, like, my mother used to be like, oh, I provide you food, shelter, and clothing. I'm like, yeah, because it's illegal not to.
Right.
That's the fucking law. You've got to keep me alive. Yeah, you got to keep me in a basic living condition. So don't brag about doing the fucking bare minimum.
The minimum.
Danny, did you ever have that conversation with your children? I brought you into this world, that kind of stuff? Or did your parents ever say that to you?
No, never ever had that conversation. Be honest with you.
I had a version of that conversation, and this was actually the Bill Cosby version of the conversation when he said, I brought you into this world and I can take you out, and then I'll make another one that looks just like you. Oh, wow. Man.
Yeah.
Like, talk about agendas. I thought that I was going to have at least 2 or 3 children, and it turned out to be one and done. But he's, this is a good one. So I did well with that. Luckily, he has his mother's looks. So
there you go.
Yeah. And unluckily, he has my sense of humor, which his mother always hated. His mother was like, I don't understand. How is it that he lives with me? And this was, there was a time he lived with me, and then he went back to her when he was like 5 or 6. And she was like, how is it that he lives with me, but he acts like you? And I just said, well, maybe I'm more interesting than you are. Let's see. We've got Vinny Man with the smiling. Thank you, Vinny, and thank you for the heart, me, Vinny. Appreciate it. Yeah, and even though we don't like to quote Cosby very often these days, that is a good joke from Bill
Yep.
Cosby, and I think that came from his HBO stand-up called Himself, which was again. I know we're not supposed to speak kindly of the awful people in the world, but that special was really funny.
I don't disagree.
Because, I don't know if people appreciate what it takes to just sit there by yourself on a stage, on a stool with a mic, and just face an entire auditorium of people and have to entertain those motherfuckers for an hour or so. That is not an easy thing to do.
No.
Yeah. George Carlin was good at it.
Yeah. There's definitely a handful of people that were really, really good at it. George Carlin is still one of my favorite comedians ever and still one of my heroes who I never got to meet. But, the people that do it the best make it look easy. And that's why so many people try stand-up comedy. On any given night, there's open mic nights around bars and bowling alleys in restaurants all over the country, and people get up there and realize immediately how fucking difficult it is to entertain strangers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody talks about, like, if I had a time machine, I would go, change this historic event, this, that, and the other. If I had a time machine, I'd go back to like 2004 and watch Mitch Hedberg live.
Oh man, I
You know what
loved
I mean?
Mitch Hedberg. Another one, left us way too soon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Now Mitch Hedberg was on one end of the spectrum as a joke teller. He was silly jokes, funny,
Yes.
but very, very dry, very silly. And then another one we lost way too young, and his name just flew out of my fucking head. I'll get it back. But Mitch Hedberg, here's my favorite Hedberg joke, and I have to change one word in the joke for this infantile fucking platform to allow me to keep saying shit. I used to do schmugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Used to too. Yes.
What I love about that joke is that you cannot add or subtract a word to improve that joke. There is no fat on that joke. It's a minimum amount of words. It only takes a few seconds to say, but it's so fucking clever.
Yep.
And I also loved Hedberg's delivery. He had this weird way of talking. Like when he said, my neighbor sometimes doesn't like that I play my television real loud in the house. And one time they were knocking on my door. And I'm sorry. He said, one time they were knocking on my wall. And he says, go around. I don't know what's on your side, but I do not have a knob over here.
Yep.
Just crazy shit. Another one, let's see, who was also very dry, very silly jokes, and people's names keep fucking rushing out of my head. Barsky Chef wants to come up here. Let's let him up. Oh God, the guy who drones on like, I had a map of the world. It was full size, so it took me 3 months to fold.
I think you're Stephen Wright.
Thank
I think
you.
is
That's
his name.
Stephen Wright.
Yeah, Stephen Wright.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, my blood sugar's a little low now, so I can't remember a fucking thing. So how you doing, Barsky?
I'm good. How's it going tonight?
Good. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. It's diner night, so this is a night where generally we do not talk about any serious shit. No politics, no Donnie Dump and his fucking Riri ass. Just goofy, dumb shit that, is the same as what you would talk about when you were sitting at the diner with your friends, laughing and joking and all that good shit.
Yeah, I could go with a good laugh after this week, and this I just happened to scroll by and I heard you mention about doing stand up, and that's actually a goal of mine to actually give it a try. Um,
Yeah. I'd
Goodness
say do
knows.
it. I'd say do it
Yeah.
because, you know, uh, life sometimes feels long and it sometimes feels really, really short. Like my son is turning 41 this month, and that seems fucking absurd to me. It seems impossible that 41 years ago he popped out and they handed him to me and he fit in both of my hands, and now he's 6'4", and all this and he has children of his own. He's got 3 children. So it's like that seems like a very short time, but at the same time, I've been around 61 years and that seems like a long time. But I say all that to say, whatever it is you think you want to do that obviously doesn't hurt anybody else, just fucking do it. You won't
I
regret
appreciate
trying new shit, man.
I
You know?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in Madison, Wisconsin, which is like
That's where the
well, out
70s show was located, I think, right?
no, they were in Sheboygan, I want to say.
Really? Okay.
Um, uh,
I think that's
well, in
yeah.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin. So I'm just outside of Madison,
Hmm.
and there's a whole bunch of bars and restaurants that do like open mic night,
Hmm.
stand up night, and I've heard it from. I mean, a lot of people say this. Oh, everybody says I should do stand up. I'm nothing if not self aware. Most of what I have are I do like witty like anecdotes kind of a thing. Mitch Hedberg that you were speaking of, who was an absolute genius.
Yeah.
Like he was a genius, and the fact that all of his jokes were very quick. They were very. It was very silly, like
Hmm.
quick one-liners. But I mean, the king of the one-liners, in my opinion, was Don Rickles.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Well,
and
that's the king of the hill. That's Mount Rushmore right there.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Between him, Rodney Dangerfield, the absolute like the joke that would take like less than 10 seconds, but you're laughing for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Rodney told a great joke. He said, my doctor told me to run 2 miles a day for a week. And a week later, I called him up and I said, Doc, I'm miles from my house.
Yeah, right.
By the way, that 70s show was in a fictional town called Point Place, Wisconsin.
Point Place. Oh, why
There you
did I
go.
forget
Okay.
that? Yep, that's right. It
Yeah.
was Point Place.
So yeah, I mean, God, the list of comedians that I love is pretty long, and it's a mix of old school legends and new guys like Doug Stanhope. He's kind of in between. He's sort of old school, sort of still relevant, but Doug Stanhope, who I got to see live in Florida, he's a brilliant comic, very sardonic. Very nihilistic in some ways, but always very introspective, always very funny, always very, very clever. Like you just don't see his punchlines coming, which is the magic of comedy, is that comedy is all dependent on a surprise ending, right?
Mhm.
That's why comedians can't go up and do the same jokes as they did on their last special because you've already heard the
Right.
surprises, you know? And, back in the vaudeville days, you could have 1 hour of material that never changed because you were traveling around the country and, you didn't hit the same town for like 10 years, But now because, once you put out a special, that's it. That material is burned. But the
Yep.
interesting thing is because the brain processes music and speech in different areas. When we hear music, we rely on consistency. We need the song to be the same every single time. That's where our enjoyment comes from. And when it comes to comedy, we need it to be different every time.
Well, I mean, that's like for me, growing up, like when I was listening to some stand up, like as a younger child, when I was like, you know, between 10 and 14, um, my dad had a couple of records of comedy albums that I should not have listened to. One of them was George Carlin, and the other one was Robin Williams live at the Met. And the only two things that I knew about both of these two characters when I was younger was George Carlin was the voice of the narrator of Thomas the Tank Engine,
Yeah.
and Robin Williams was the genie and Mrs. Doubtfire. And I didn't. I knew that it was like, okay, yeah, with Robin Williams, yeah, it was like, yeah, he had some kind of goofy jokes, but I didn't realize how absolutely like off the cuff his delivery was until I was a little bit older, and I was like, yes, it was absolutely bouncing off the walls, but there was a level of comedic genius to that as well. George Carlin was, he had a different, more. I
So
feel like
literally, George Carlin and Robin Williams are opposites. George,
Yep.
when you watch a George Carlin special, he wrote out every single word of that special.
Militant. Yeah, it
Right.
was very militant.
I call it discipline, but sure, why not? But
I'll
Robin
agree.
Williams was a joke hoover, and he would riff constantly. So much so that he wound up paying out a lot of money to people for stealing their jokes accidentally.
Oh.
Right. But along other lines with Robin Williams, he was a Shakespearean trained Juilliard actor.
One of my
Okay.
favorite things is the fact that he and Christopher Reeve, I feel, were they went to school together.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
former Superman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely adore, like, I work with guys who are in like their early 20s, and they start talking about like DC stuff, and they start talking about comic book stuff, and they start talking about Superman. I bring up Christopher Reeve, and they were like, did he pass away? Like, he got into a horse accident. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And him and Robin Williams.
Now he's gone. I think he died a few years ago.
Yeah, he.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I
want to say it was
remember
2006.
Something, whatever
Oh.
it was. Everything's
Yeah.
a few years to me. I'm ever since the lockdown, I've lost all fucking sense of time.
honestly, me too. But I remember, like, no, it was like 2 days ago, and I said Robin Williams was roommates with Christopher Reeve, and one of my younger guys, he's 22, 23.
And ironically, both men played people from other planets.
Yep.
Yep,
Nanu,
Rick and
nanu.
Morty and Superman. And they
Mork
were,
and Mindy.
or more. What did I say? Did I say Rick and
Rick
Morty?
and Morty.
Oh,
yeah,
wow. And
it's
you know
okay.
what's funny? I've never seen Rick and Morty. That's the thing.
I
Mork and Mindy.
hear it's great, but yeah, Mork and Mindy. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, definitely iconic. I absolutely adore most things that Robin Williams was in.
I mean, he only really had one stinker, which was Popeye.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
Popeye shit the bed magnificently.
Was it bad?
That was
it was
what?
bad. Okay,
It was
I'll,
horrendous.
I'll skip it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 1983, right?
I don't remember. I blocked it out of my
I thought it was
memory.
back
It
then,
was so
movie.
fucking bad.
I remember watching it as a kid and being confused at what the hell I was watching.
I watched it. I was a year out of high school, if it was 83, and I wanted to punch strangers after I saw the fucking thing. It was awful. It was just awful. Just so fucking enragingly bad. But again, if you look at his career, especially I think we have to give a little latitude, at least I have to give a little latitude to people that have a huge body of work, because of course you're going to have at least one stinker in there. Even
Yeah.
Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese has a couple stinkers in his
Mhm.
catalog, and that guy's a fucking genius. But yeah, when I think of Robin Williams, I think of a man who conquered so many different areas of entertainment so well. You know, yes, we knew him as stand-up. One of the hardest things to do in entertainment is stand-up comedy, possibly the hardest, right? Then you've got a guy who did comedic television. Then he did comedic films, and then he did serious films. Let's remember, his Oscar was for Good Will Hunting, a very serious role, right?
Such a good movie.
So phenomenal. And of course, Dead Poet Society, absolutely amazing in that. So the guy could do anything. He's like, Justin Timberlake's the same way. There's a few people out there that just seem to be able to do everything. I was just watching some video of Sammy Davis Jr. the other night from his Las Vegas residency. This fucking guy in one, like, I don't know, it was 5-10 minute, I think it was about 10 minutes. This fucking guy played the piano. He played the xylophone. He played drums. And of course he sang and danced. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? What do you, and he also played trumpet. He played a few things. This guy, I mean, you don't even see that now,
No.
but there's some people that are just outrageously good at anything they do.
Well, I remember Jim Varney was another actor. Jim Varney was
The
what
Verne
was
films, right?
Ernest.
Ernest, yeah. there you
Ernest,
go.
yeah. Oh yeah. I remember watching Ernest as a kid on TV, and then Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail. You know, he
I remember
voiced
Ernest Goes to
Slinky
Jail.
Dog in Toy Story, I don't know why I said it that way. Toy
That guy
Story.
definitely would never be
Um,
on my radar, but that's interesting.
But he was also another actor that was oh God, the school that Robin Williams went to.
Juilliard.
Juilliard.
Yes, he was another Juilliard trained professional, and most people remember him for all of his stupid, quirky kids stuff. And I will tell you, because of having the internet, we're able to see a lot of his other work, a lot of the other things he was involved in, and you realize, holy crap, this guy wasn't just some guy that was running around going, "Hey kids, watch this." Hey Vern, I mean, yeah, it made sense of why he was such a good actor and why he was so engaging in everything he did.
I finally remember the name of the comedian that I referenced earlier, Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks, yeah.
Unfortunately, he left us
Yep.
at 33 years old, but man, he was to me the second coming of Carlin. I think had
Yeah,
that dude
I agree.
aged, he would have been phenomenal.
100%
Absolutely
agree.
phenomenal. He was, I mean, he has this great, he had this way of transitioning a comedy show into a TED Talk. And he has this great little bit. It probably lasts about a minute or something like that, but he just talks about the expansiveness of the universe and all this other wild shit, and it's like wow, like that's some deep shit for a comedian,
Yep.
But he made it entertaining. I mean, that's what Carlin did. Carlin once said, "I make them laugh so they don't hurt me for the things that I really want to tell them." Right?
Right. Yep.
Because like his first live HBO special was Jammin' in New York, and I believe that was either 92 or 93. And I remember I watched it live when it aired on HBO. And he ended that with an 8-minute segment called The Earth is Fine. And I remember when he got to the end of it, where he essentially made fun of conservationists, which is a pretty bold take at that time, because that's around the time Earth Day started and all that shit. So he was like, the arrogance of people to say that they're going to save the planet. That's unbelievably arrogant. And then he broke it down. And by the time he was finished, I was like, well, I'm not a conservationist anymore because Carlin just made an airtight argument as for why that's nonsense, you know. But yeah,
Right.
he wasn't trying to be funny. Parts of it were funny, of course, but he was trying to tell us something. And the whole special, the whole hour plus before that, was to make us laugh enough so that when he told us how stupid we were, we wouldn't be mad at him. That's genius, man. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, he was always willing to piss off his audience. Always. He was willing to piss off the very people that was sitting in the seats that had paid to see him. And that's bold, man. That's a move that you rarely ever see.
What's your opinion on the I had a discussion with this actually today. What's your opinion on like the blue collar comedy tour?
It's what I call sugar shot comedy. Right? Nothing wrong with it, but it's
Mhm.
not going to be stuff that you ever remember.
Okay.
You know,
That's
it's like when you open up a sugar pack and you shoot it down. Yeah, it tastes good for a few seconds, and then you move on.
okay.
You know,
That's very fair.
yeah.
I had a conversation with some of my guys today while we were working. We were talking about some stand up, and somebody started saying, again, younger guys, they go like, "Do you remember that one really really old special? It was the Blue Collar Comedy Tour." And I was like, first of all, you guys can shut the hell up. But I was like, yeah, I remember. You know, it was Bill Engvall, Jeff Foxworthy, Ron White, and Larry the Cable Guy,
Mhm.
and
Get her
and they were
done.
get her
Tater
done.
salad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, tater salad. And I was like, I remember bits, but I don't remember like the whole thing. I remember
Yeah, because
also
it's not the kind of comedy that you remember. You know,
And
it was funny at
and
the
by the
time.
way, in fairness, I think 98% of comedy is just like that. It's sugar shot comedy. The reason why we talk about the Carlins and and everybody else, which with such reverence, is because you will remember their shit for your whole life.
Yeah.
right.
Well, and like for me, like when it comes to like with I'm talking, I'm talking with my wife right now.
Oh,
I'm
sorry to hear
going.
that. Just kidding.
Yeah, me too.
Heyo.
I'm talking with my wife. Like currently, I'm talking about a shift in restaurants, and she's also saying because I have a lot of aspirations going on right now, and one that has been going on for a couple of years now has been going to actually buckle down, write out a skit, and go and do an open mic night for stand up. And most of the time in the Madison area, there's always like an open mic night where it's like you have like a half an
All over the
hour.
country. All over
Yeah,
the
you have
country.
like a
Yeah.
half an hour or an hour or whatever
Really?
the case.
Oh, most open mics in the Northeast are 5 minutes.
I was gonna say, yeah, 5 to 15 minutes. Right.
There's a
But hey,
couple.
for
There's
whatever amount of time you have, like I said, man, just fucking. I mean, first of all, for an open mic to expect a comic to have more than 5 minutes of material is a pretty bold expectation. But whatever amount of time you have, yeah, write it out, practice it, and then just go up and do it. Because honestly, I've never tried stand up comedy, but it's one of those things that I still think about. Once in a while, I'm like, man, one of these days, like I don't have a car now, so getting around would be a pain in the ass. But if I wanted to do it, I would find a way to do it. But I've never driven myself, quote unquote, driven myself to actually do it. And
Mhm.
I think if I go my entire life never having tried it, it probably would bum me out a little bit.
Well, I mean, the big thing for me is because, like, I'm talking with you guys, and we're all saying like funny things, like, in like quick little anecdotes. Like, you yourself, you're a funny man. Like when you hit like really great little, one liners or comparisons, which are fantastic, that make me laugh my ass off.
Usually at my
And
expense.
Usually, exactly.
I
You
like
know,
low hanging fruit. I don't know what it is about me.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
No, but
you
I
know,
appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
for sure. Like, I mean, it's one thing when you're having like a conversation with like a smaller contingent of people, especially when you have like-minded people, versus when you get up on a stage. And most of the time, from what I understand, I was talking to some friends that I met that have done stand up. You get up on the stage, and because it's lit up for just a stage, so you can't see
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
And so there's dudes who are like covering their eyes to see like who's catcalling, you know. But it's like you go up there and you're kind of like talking into an empty room, even though it's completely full.
Hmm.
And it's like that kind of level that's like there's an intimidation aspect to it, but there's also like something exciting, you know.
Well, also the other aspect of it is that universally human beings are more afraid of public speaking than they are of passing away.
Yeah,
I could
and
agree
that's
with that.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind like
And
the
I can do
public
it in my
speaking.
sleep at this point. I've been public speaking since 1988, so it's like nothing to me.
I mean, for me, like public speaking, like when I have like, you know, a script or something, because I have done that, you know, with open public forums when I'm reading something, you know, in front of somebody, that's fine, you know, but the riffing thing, like that's like, okay, I would need to figure that out. Um, Eris Spears, who I think is one of
Mm,
the kings of dealing with like crowd control
Yeah.
when somebody is catcalling. Um, he's been doing this. He's been doing stand up for a long
I don't think
time,
you mean catcalling. Catcalling is when you're shouting
or not
things at a
catcalling.
woman.
Heckling,
heckling.
Heckling, yeah.
Yeah,
heckling.
heckling.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, yeah, catcalling. But yeah,
I mean, Spears is
he's
cute, but I don't think he gets catcalled a lot.
no. I most of my feed is like actually on one. I think it's on the Book of Faces. I think like it's a lot of like his stand up when people start heckling him, and he
Yeah,
just immediately just shuts them down in
right.
the most brutal way.
Yeah, but he's
Um,
also been doing stand up for over 30 years.
long time,
So
long time.
probably
There,
closer to 40.
Yeah,
there's another comedian that's very good at shutting down hecklers. Is I think his name is Steve Hofstetler.
Yeah.
Steve
Okay.
Hofstadter. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
brilliant.
Yes.
Very intelligent guy, very mild mannered, but
yes.
very he's very courageous in the face of adversity. So even though he's
Right.
mild mannered about it and very polite, he is pretty brutal in how he
Yes.
shuts people down.
Absolutely.
I think it's because like because I've actually seen him shut people down in a very gentle way,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and he's totally like, you know, moved on from it. But when somebody like crosses the line, he goes like absolute like, you know, full cannon. You
Welcome
Yeah.
back,
know,
Danny. So yeah, I mean, and obviously, crowd work varies from comic to comic. One of my favorite crowd work guys is Big J Okerson. He's a New York City comic. He's got podcasts and all this other shit. He's done tours. But yeah, he's really, really good at crowd work. Very quick on his feet. You know, I don't know if he gets heckled much, but every comic eventually is going to get heckled. And I'm lucky since I look pissed off all the time. I would probably get fewer hecklers, and I could shut them down pretty quickly when I do. But you know,
just give him
uh,
a really good stare.
yeah,
Just stare at them.
I believe me, I am the alpha male that makes other alpha males nervous, and I don't say that to boast or anything. It's just life experience. I've done it so many times where people that thought they were tough fucking crumble in front of me.
Well, you know, I mean, it's one of those things. It's not just like it's the standard, not just walk the walk, but talk the talk, and you also have to look the look a little bit. You
Yeah,
know,
well, I have a pretty severe resting bitch face as it is, and I also, internally, something that I know about myself that throws people off is that I am always willing to move to violence at the blink of an eye. Now, that is it's never my agenda. I don't
Sure.
want to fight. I don't want to hurt anybody. I certainly don't want to get hurt. But when someone thinks that they're going to get into a shoving match, I think it's a life or not life confrontation.
Yeah.
And that energy is something that people feel, and it scares the piss out of some people. And even if it doesn't, it keeps me ready. Like, my son loves to say, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. And I'm a big believer in that. So I always have that percolating right under the surface. It's like what Mark Ruffalo said as the Hulk, when they're like, well, don't you have to get angry in order to do your thing? And he's like, well, that's just it. I'm always angry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so I totally get that metaphor. It's like, yeah, you gotta be, you gotta be ready to stare the guy down and let him understand that what he thought this was about is not what it's really about. You thought you were going to get into a fight. I'm looking to go nuclear, and it's helped me avoid confrontations.
Well, like the other thing too, like when it comes to, you were talking about the alpha male, um, which is an important state of mind for
Yeah, it's a
me.
clumsy thing to say, but it's,
It
people
is.
know that phrase.
I don't think that it's a clumsy way of saying. I think that it's a more universal known thing.
Well,
For
both of
me,
those things could be true, right?
yes, yes. I think like when it comes to like any sort of altercation that I have gotten to in my life, um, it was really like when it got to the point of violence, um, is that was the last possible step. And I'm very good at, I've talked my way out of plenty of dudes who at a bar, they've had too many libations, and of course you drink any sort of amount of alcohol that's going to change the way that you think things. I have sat there, I have talked down dudes out of fighting quite a bit,
Yeah.
and it's not difficult to do, but like the second that people start to do, because I'm not a big guy, but the second that people start to touch me is the second that I start to distance myself, because I know that I have long, dumb, spangly arms, and I have had my share of experiences in the past, also in being in the Marine Corps. I know how to put myself away from distance, but inflict damage if needed, you know. And I don't like doing that now, like at 35 years old with a 4-year-old boy and a career.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
don't want to
need
get
that right.
arrested. You don't want to get beat up. Yeah. Of
Life,
Yeah,
course.
life
I don't
definitely
want,
puts some perspective on that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't want to beat anybody up, like I
Right.
really
Like I
don't.
don't want any of it. I don't want to beat anybody up. I don't want to get beat up because both of those things are possible. I certainly don't want to lose my life. Or I don't want to take anybody else's life because those things are
Yeah.
possible. On
Yep.
average in America, 2 guys per day lose their lives in fistfights. So that's just a fucking thing, and I don't want to be part of that statistic. But I also never want anybody to, get over on me. And that's an ego thing on my part, where I can talk guys out of getting into altercations. I'm very good at it, but I have this weird little thing where I really enjoy humiliating someone who thinks that they're going to intimidate me. So I'd rather scare someone out of fighting me than talk them through it. And
Yeah.
it's a fucked up aspect of my personality, but I don't plan on changing it.
I wouldn't think that
Again,
it was.
usually at my expense. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Damn.
No, let me say this for sure. There was one moment, Traffic Man, you were here when not someone, where I responded in genuine anger to something that someone said, and not to be grandiose, but that was like a level 4 or 5 compared to when I think that there's going to be a physical confrontation.
Yeah.
But and that was literally the angriest anyone's ever seen me on here. Because generally they don't see me angry at all. Even when I'm dealing with shitheads, I generally don't get angry. But this one racist asshole just really pissed me off with something that she said. And after I booted her off, I looked into the camera and fucking yelled for a minute.
Hmm.
you know?
Well, I'm
But
not going to
even but
say it
even
wasn't. It
then,
wasn't.
but
Yeah.
even then, at as pissed off as I was, that was, like I said, that was maybe 4 or 5 on the scale. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Traffic Man?
No, I was just going to say that that was also justified at for that particular moment.
It
So,
was for me, certainly. And thankfully, I never had to hear from her again.
yep.
There's
Although
always a
the both of
line.
us were on Danny's live a couple weeks ago, and she typed just my name into the comments. She typed Yoddah, like, are you really trying to talk to me? Like, I ignored her, obviously, but I was like, why is she typing my name? Like, I blocked you, stupid. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to be friends now. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
nah,
There's
no.
always a line. There's always a
Yeah.
line.
As the
You
band
know.
Boston sang, "Don't look back."
Yep.
No, when it comes, look, I can forgive people of a lot of shit, but racism ain't one of them.
I agree. I I have forgiven a lot, but that's a line for me. Um, and it's also like because when I'm in Wisconsin, like there's always when you're in a busy bar, and there's always somebody, at least a couple of people that have overindulged, and somebody's gonna say something that they shouldn't have, you know. And then what happens? Probably, a lot of shouting, somebody getting kicked out. Goodness forbid, like if there's actual fisticuffs being thrown. Um, but it does happen, and it's always like
Yeah.
at the end, like the next day, there's always somebody who reaches out. Hey, bro, I'm sorry, about that, and
I
that
didn't
hasn't.
mean it. Yeah, shut
It's
up.
same thing.
Yeah, you did.
That's
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 the you.
why.
You said it. You said it because you were disinhibited and you finally told the truth. But here's the
Yeah,
thing: I have
Yeah.
a standing rule of thumb. Whenever I meet people somewhere, which hasn't happened in a long time, I barely go out anymore. But when I meet people anywhere and there's drinking, I never stay longer than 3 hours because I
that's a
know,
good.
I
Yeah,
know after that point,
And
if they keep drinking, it's all going to go downhill. I was at a reunion. Let's see, this was either 20 or 25. My high school class actually stayed very close. At a certain point, they started having reunions every year. But this was, I think, 25 or 30, something like that. And I mean, some chick passed out so hard that like they had to call an ambulance for her. And
Jesus.
I'm like, we're in our fucking 40s. What are you doing?
yeah.
you know? But that's why it's like, yeah, now I'm like, okay, you know what? I mean, and I don't mind being around people that are drinking. I don't drink. I haven't in almost 40 years. But I don't give a fuck. It's like, do whatever you want to do. It doesn't affect me. But I know that once they get to that point, and I had a girlfriend like that too. She was cool up until 3 drinks. And once she had 3 drinks, then the part of her brain that told her not to have more than 3 drinks got drowned, and then she would have more. Right.
Yep.
And
Gotcha.
and then once she started on the 4th drink, it was just off a cliff.
No filter.
No filter, just wild shit. Part of that was good, but part of it was very, very bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like right now, like when I get done with work, you know, most of the time in the past, I would go to the bar across the street because they knew me, I knew them. There was
Where
always like
everybody knows your name.
it was
Sorry.
really kind of the cheers for real.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what I like
and
about small town bars that you frequent. It does become a little community.
and what was fun is like every once in a while, like on a Friday when we just got done with dinner service and we're going over down the street to Eddie's. They're still busy, and I would bring over like a couple of large pizzas for like the team there. I was just like, "Hey, pizza on me." And then guess what? We drank for free, for the rest of the night, outside of me leaving the tip.
Yeah.
But there's like that little sense of like camaraderie in the food and beverage industry. But when I go out to a bar that like I've never been to, which is not very often, um, I it's like, okay, I'm gonna hang out here for like a a drink or maybe two, and then I'm gonna boogie, because I don't want to be in a place that I'm not unfamiliar with. And I also, well, given this has been like a couple of years now, um, I want to still drive myself home, and
Yeah.
I want to get home in a safe manner,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and if I can't, well, there's rideshare, there's Uber, I can use that just fine.
You know, always come back for your car tomorrow.
Well,
Yep,
yeah.
exactly.
Listen, as somebody that was impacted by a drunk driver when I was 25, and that drunk driver was not myself. It was somebody else hit me.
Wow.
Right.
That was that even that experience. I was perfectly fine, luckily, in the whole scenario. But yeah, no, that really opened my eyes to exactly what you're saying right now. Like, you got to make sure, you know, that you're good to
E-
go.
Even under
'Cause-
the best conditions, life can change in a second.
right.
So, I mean, I don't like to make any decisions based on fear, but a lot of it is just practicality. Like
Yeah.
I started wearing a seatbelt 7 years before it became a law in the state that I lived in at the time. Why? Because I respect physics.
Uh-huh.
Right? And I've hardly had any car accidents, and none really really bad. But it's just being practical. I wear a seatbelt to be practical, and I try to
Yep.
carry that sensibility into social situations. Like you said, if you're at an unfamiliar bar, you start to put yourself in a situation of risk, of increased risk, if you keep drinking amongst strangers, because
Yeah.
you don't know what their agenda is. You don't know what their intention is. That could be a hood bar, and as soon as you get drunk, people are lifting your shit, you
Yep.
know? And that's the best of the outcomes that could happen.
Right.
Just getting your wallet lifted, somebody could decide to make you their girlfriend for the night too. And even though that sounds like I'm joking, that shit has happened to people,
Yeah.
only because they didn't assess the risk well enough, or if at all, and I like to be like Robert De Niro in the very rarely referenced film Ronin, where he plays like an ex-CIA guy or maybe a current CIA guy. It was never quite clear in the film, but he said this one line, which as a martial artist, I completely relate to. He says, "I never go into a place without figuring out how to get out of it." you know and that's the kind of thing where, if you're practical, even though that sounds paranoid, it isn't, because I'd rather do that 10,000 times where nothing's going on to be prepared for the one time where something is.
Right.
That
It's
is
like when my instructor in driver's ed, when I was 17, she said, always look into the rearview mirror when you hit your brakes, right? Because the person behind you might not be paying attention. And so this is now 40 years later, 40, almost 45 years later, and I still do that.
Hmm.
When I'm driving, every time my foot hits the brake, I glance up, and that has saved me on so many occasions.
Yeah.
that's really crazy that you say that, because it was actually last year. We had we had a hot point like in October, and I was driving from my parents' house to my house. It was just myself and my son. It's only about like a 20, not even a 20-minute drive. And there's an exit that's always notorious for kind of being slow to get on. And I was, same thing that I was taught, like, when you go to hit your brakes, look behind you, look in your rear view. And I go to hit the brakes and I'm looking at my rear view and there's this guy that is just flying behind me. And I had my son in my back seat, and I knew that this guy was not going to stop in time. So I moved, to the next lane over. It was a really quick shady thing. And good, nobody got hurt. It was just like a bit of a fender bender with somebody else. But I was just like, Jesus Christ, like, I think about that every single day.
Yeah.
And of course, because my son is 4, he, for a little bit, he was just like, because he heard like the crash. And because I had his music playing, he has a little bit of like, I mean, he was 3 at the time, so kids aren't too bright. And he goes, Daddy, what part of the song is that?
Yeah.
And of course, like, I'm sitting there like shitting myself because like,
Right.
holy shit, like, this almost happened. But
That's the
there's
beauty of
my
innocence, right?
but
Kids
there's
are
my
dumb
little
as fuck. They'll
3-year-old.
believe anything.
Yeah, and so I sat there. I was like, "Oh well, buddy, do you know what a remix is?"
Nice.
And so I spent
That's
about
the DMX version.
Yeah, right.
So I spent like the
Arr,
remainder
arr.
of my drive just talking to my son, explaining what a remix is,
That's
and
funny.
Nice.
it got me calmed down. And then of course, like, I get home and I'm like, okay, he's not gonna remember this, but I swear to Christ, I'm not telling my wife shit.
Yeah.
That's smart.
This
That's
is
the
not
important
something.
part.
This is not something she needs
look,
to know.
I think it's kind of an interesting condition of the human race where we have this category of lies that we create as acceptable, right? I have a standing policy never to lie to people that I know, but that leaves wiggle room for me, right? So if I know you, if you're in my life, if I socialize with you, especially if I call you a friend or even someone that I like, I am not going to lie to you. But I understand, I heard a comic once say, I lie to my life because the truth takes too long to explain.
Oh man, yeah, I feel that one really good.
It is what it is, so I get it. Someone brought up earlier, what's cooking, who left to walk his dog, but he brought up Sam Kinison. He said he was a friend. Anyone remember him? And I was like, of course I remember him. And here's the crazy thing. Just last night, I saw one of my favorite Sam Kinison jokes on another platform. It's the, IG, the formerly picture platform. And it was his bit that he did, and this was probably around 84, 85. He talked about sending money to foreign countries, like sending money to Africa to feed people. And he's like, hey, why don't we send them U-Hauls instead so they can move out of the fucking desert? Now, there's this thing in comedy. Part of what makes that so brilliant is that there's this thing in comedy where you are not supposed to, quote unquote, punch down, right? And what's more lower station in life than a starving child in the desert, right? But Sam Kinison was willing to shit on them. So it's one of those things where if you are clever enough, you can break all the rules. And Kinison was amazing. Does anyone know, like, what made him such an outrageous comic? Because it's an interesting thing.
No, but I do remember he set Oprah Winfrey's set on fire. Right? That was him, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember that. I know Johnny
I gotta look
Carson's
this up.
set was put on fire once, but I forget who did it.
Well,
It
I
was just
remember.
his couch. It was his couch.
Who was it? Who was it that broke his cigarette box?
Oh, that was Don Rickles.
Don Rickles. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when Rickles was guest hosting. And he got and Rickles was taping Sharky's at the time, and he literally walked over onto the set. They grabbed a remote cam and followed Carson as he walked onto the set and interrupted a taping of the show, a live taping, to fuck with him about doing that.
Oh, Bobcat Goldthwait. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay.
Sorry.
That
Yeah.
he lit Oprah's couch,
I hold on. I believe it was.
or I remember it might have been Carson that got his couch lit on fire, but I don't remember specifically.
Didn't Andy Kaufman do a fire thing like he said?
I don't recall. Andy Kaufman was
Jay
brilliant.
Leno.
Jay Leno, okay.
Yeah, he said Jay Leno's
It's
couch on
funny.
fire.
Hey, let's play
Did
some
he?
fire. Jay Leno is
Yeah.
one of those comics that's perfect for the Tonight Show because his comedy, talk about sugar shot comedy. I
Mhm.
never laughed once when he was a stand-up comic. And you know, this is going back to the mid '70s. I used to watch him, and I was like, man, like Seinfeld was the same way. I never laughed once at anything Jerry said.
What's the deal with airline food? Oh.
But
Sorry.
Kinnison, I mean, goddamn, he was wild. But here's what made him wild. He got hit by a car, and he got brain damage, and his personality changed completely. That's when he became, I believe, a Pentecostal child preacher. He was like
Okay.
he was like when you think of a televangelist, what do they call that? Fire and brimstone kind of preacher.
Yeah.
That was Kinnison. And that's where he got that yelling delivery from. And then when he got older, he transitioned into comedy and kept that same delivery.
That's awesome.
Yeah. His brother wrote a book about their life together.
You know, that kind of, this might seem a little bit off track, but like that kind of reminds me, last year I saw on my Instagram that Gordon Ramsay had posted something about motorcycle and bicycling safety, and he was in the middle of filming Hell's Kitchen. Apparently, the night before, he had gotten into a motorcycle accident, and he pulled up his chef coat, and of course, I've never seen the guy in person, but he's a pretty tall, pretty built dude, and the whole right side was just bruised all to
Yeah.
hell, just absolute brown and black and green and just every color. It was just like, geez. And since then, most of his content that he's done, and he's I want to say he's like 56. I think he's about the same age as my dad. Oh no, my dad is in his 60s now. Christ. But you know, his tone has really kind of changed in how he interviews, and like maybe that was kind of the same thing that your gentleman had went through. You know, he kind of
Could be.
changed,
Who
like
knows?
he changed
Well,
his
it was brain
delivery and
damage
his,
for sure. I mean, without the brain damage, of course, his perspective could have changed, but his
right.
behavior and his personality changed as well.
Yeah.
Which is definitely, and by the way, another very, very famous comedian had the same thing happen. Roseanne Barr. When Roseanne Barr was like 9, I think, she got hit by a car. Part of the fender like impaled her skull, and she lived through it, but she was different from then on. And she's real nutty now. Like
Yeah.
when you
Yes.
hear her talk, man, she is bouncing off the fucking walls. Because generally that kind of shit doesn't get better with time. It tends to get
No.
Yeah.
worse.
Well,
You know?
and don't forget there was that it's recent in the last, what was it, 6 or 7 years now, she made that comment on the internet about a African American commentator, and then she was like, "Oh, it's the Adderall that I'm on." And it's like, no.
Well, you know, what she said wasn't that big a deal to me. She was talking about a black woman and her hairstyle, and she said that it reminded her of the female monkey from the original Planet of the Apes.
Right. Okay.
And so that to me is not inherently racist because if you look at that chick's hairstyle, she wasn't wrong.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, look, when my son was like fucking 3 or 4, we were standing online at like a Dwayne Reed or some kind of one of those, pharmacy stores. And he looked up at a lady and said, "Daddy, that lady looks like a monkey." And he was right. This chick looked like a monkey. Now I had to figure out how to talk to him about that, because I didn't want to crush
Right.
his creativity or his expression. So I just said, "Hey, the next time you think of something like that, whisper it in my ear, okay?"
Right.
But he was right. This chick looked like a monkey. So what do you want me to do? My child is observant. What do you want from me?
Right.
But back to Kinnison.
Yeah.
One time I was watching, and this might have been his famous like first HBO special, which was again, I think 85. He had a joke on there. I was watching it and I fell off my fucking lounge chair. I was sitting in one of those Barca lounge kind of things, with my feet up. I'm watching this guy's comedy. And I laughed so hard that I rolled off the chair onto my carpet. And unfortunately, I can't do it full justice on this childish platform, but he referenced a story that I had actually read in the newspaper a few months prior. So I knew that he wasn't making this up whole cloth, but after he references the actual event, what he puts on top of that was absolutely phenomenal to me. And the story was that he had read that there was a funeral director, I think in Florida, because of course it was Florida. This guy was banging the male corpses.
Ugh.
So Kinnison gets on, he lies on the floor face down, and he's sitting there with his head turned toward the audience, holding the mic. And he's like, "Can you imagine? You're sitting there, you've left, this mortal coil, and you're thinking, oh man, I had a good life. I'm gonna miss my family, but I'm gonna be in the bosom of Jesus, and I'm gonna be in heaven." And then he starts rocking, and he's like, "What's this? What's going? Wait, something's in my ass. What the fuck?" He's like, "Oh my God, life is fucking me even after I've died."
You gotta have the
Please look up that skit. It is one of the funny. I am almost 62 years old,
We'll do that right now.
and it is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. And his delivery is just priceless. Like you can't, like literally, essentially no other comic has ever done his style of delivery, because when this guy would get going, the veins would be popping out on his head. All right, don't get me shut down. Bookmark it for later, you selfish bastard. He's muting himself.
I did mute. I was trying to listen to it, but you had to interrupt me.
Danny, I don't know if you're still there. You still hanging out with us? There he is. Have you ever seen that routine?
Which one?
The one I was just describing. No worry, it was Sam Kinison. He had a funny routine about.
I've seen several of his routines. The one that reminds me of him mostly is when he was in that movie Back to School with
Yeah,
Rodney Dangerfield, where
yeah. And a
he's
young Robert Downey Jr. was in that film
yes, yes.
with his original
Uh,
teeth.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But no, I've been just enjoying listening to you young people talk about it and all
By the
different
way,
comedians.
if the next time you watch that film Back to School, which is I would recommend, I think it's a very funny film. But Robert Downey Jr. was jacked out of his mind for that whole film.
He
I'm
was.
certain there was not one shot of him when he was sober.
I don't think so.
And it
Or
wasn't
high
just
on
alcohol.
something.
It was
Yeah,
other substances for sure. He
yeah.
was doing the booger
Obviously.
sugar.
Oh, big time. But yeah, I do watch it every once in a while when I find it, and it's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But I just, of course, I don't think I've ever watched a movie that Rodney Dangerfield wasn't in that wasn't good. But
Yeah, I mean Caddyshack, come on. One of the best
that's
comedies
a
ever in my
classic.
opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and that
Yeah.
really got Bill Murray, other than Saturday Night Live, really got him uh, in the movies. Was that one? That was the
Greasy
movie
grimy
that
gopher
really,
guts.
yeah.
When
But
Rodney looked at that Small's wife, the guy that Ted Baxter played, when he looked at his
right.
wife and said, "I bet you were great before electricity."
Yeah, yes, that's true. That's true.
I want this meat so rare. I want to see the whip marks where the jockey was hitting it.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
I found the skit, by the way.
I know you found the skit. Fuck, it's always got to be about him. God damn it,
That's
Danny.
right.
Do something
You want
about
to hear
this
about?
guy.
Listen, you want to hear about my 3D printing?
Oh, I have to say one thing about your 3D printing. I'm
Yes.
impressed with the helmet you made. I was impressed.
Oh, I appreciate
Oh,
that.
I
Thank you.
thought you were going to say that the one thing you were going to say about his 3D printing is shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I have to
that's a
admit,
Yoda thing.
he posted a video of his 3D printing helmet that he made,
You know what?
and
I
I
am
left a
negligent.
comment about
I
it
haven't
on
gone
there.
to your wall in a couple of weeks, so I have to go and check out your.
How dare you?
Listen, I have a life to live, man.
How,
And
how dare you not check my TikTok every single day?
listen.
Damn.
I only have roughly 16 or 17 hours free every day, so it's hard to fit your shit in.
Yeah, because he's sleeping most of the time in between all those little naps. He's got to take a nap.
Yeah.
He eats, he sleeps. He sleeps,
Well,
he
I
eats.
get it.
Yeah.
As a gentleman of his age, I get it. No, I'm just kidding.
Damn.
Wait a minute.
And you know
Wait a
what's
minute.
funny? I've been like this for decades. Way before I could use the excuse of being old. Like
I'm
I used to
15
when I
years
was
older. What's your point?
you're exactly, I think almost exactly 13 and a half years older.
Whatever. I'm
But
just saying.
look, you and I take about the same number of naps a day, so you don't have a fucking story here. But no, when I was working in the city, I would sometimes jump on the subway just to take a nap.
I get it.
There you go.
And it was great because in the middle of the day, after you had a couple of windows during the day when the subway's not that crowded, between rush hour and lunch, and then between lunch and like 3:00. Once 3:00 hits, the subway stays busy for like the next 8 hours. But yeah, there was, I had a lot of room. I could just sit there, let my head drop down and nod out. And I was in my fucking 30s when I was doing that.
Damn, I wish I had public transit like that around here.
New York City subway, baby.
Ugh.
The best 150-year-old subway you can find. I actually haven't been on the subway in a couple of years now, and I heard that the New York City subway has gone to shit.
No, I will
I'm not
tell you.
surprised. I mean, Eric Adams was
Yeah.
running the place for a few years, and he fucked things up pretty good.
I will
Wow.
tell you. When we went to Chicago, I was delightfully surprised at the L train there.
The L is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother, him and his wife have a penthouse in Chicago, right down the street from Wrigley Field, as a matter of fact. And the like I remember like when we first got there, the train station, like the station's literally attached to their building. And I was like, how do you handle that noise of the train? Like there's a station right there. And I'm like, how do you handle the train coming by here every 5 minutes? And he's like, dude, you'll get used to it. Trust me. You'll
You
get
do.
used
In
to the no-"
in two
and
in 2 weeks, you don't
absolutely.
even hear it anymore.
And I'll be honest with you, it was like by the second night we were there, I was like, what
Yeah.
train?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is what is referred to as assimilation. Your senses adjust to drown out things that are not necessary for you to pay attention to. It's a
yeah,
survival thing because we always had to hear predators, so any extraneous noise we filtered out.
yeah,
Yeah, when my parents, my mother and my stepfather, moved me or moved us to Long Island, literally 40 or 50 feet from right next to the house was a railroad track. And
yeah,
it was the Long Island Railroad, which was active. And so, I remember the first time we went to see the house right before I don't know if they had already bought it or they were about to buy it. But when that train came by, it shook the whole fucking place. I was like, we're going to be living here? What the fuck? And after 2 weeks, you didn't even hear it anymore.
we have a foundry that's less than a mile away from our house here. It has a 150,000 pound drop forge that runs all night, and I mean, great, but like I when I first moved in, I was like, how am I gonna live here? This is insane. And then like it got to the point where like I would have to listen for it,
Yeah.
specifically listen for that
Yeah.
pounding noise.
No, your brain, that's what she said. Your brain
Thank you.
figured out a way to filter that out. That's part of what
Yeah.
our brains do. It's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. We've been up almost 2 hours. I promised a second song. I was going to play
Oh,
two songs back to back. I only played the first one, but I have to change a setting so that you guys can hear it. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can do this. Here it is. Okay. Now I have to shut up.
We're not scared to lose it all. Security cut through the wall. Future dreams we have to realize. 1,000 skeptic hands won't keep us from the things we plan, unless we're clinging to the things we prize. And do you feel scared? But I won't stop and falter. And if we throw it all away, things can only get better. Whoa, 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 whoa.
That was, of course, Howard Jones, who was blazing in '85. He also had a song with Phil Collins in the background, which is a song I love. So anyway, let's wrap things up. Let's get some final thoughts in. Barsky, do you have any final thoughts for the evening before we wrap this motherfucker up?
Thanks so much for having me. Always a great conversation. And this was a really nice night for winding down for me after a pretty hectic week. Thank you so much, gents, for talking with me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. And as always, you are welcome anytime. So have a great rest of your night and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
You as well, sir. Have a good one.
All right, Traffic Man, please unmute yourself and share some final thoughts if you'd like.
Sorry about that. Thank you for playing that. That
By the way,
song
that
really
is
does.
considered
Yeah,
one
go
of the
ahead.
happiest songs ever.
Really?
Yeah. So there's some study that said that tried to figure out, songs that change people's moods and stuff, and it ranked as one of the happiest songs ever.
Well, I will tell you, as somebody that remembers riding around in his parents' mid '80s Dodge Caravan, um, hearing that song on the radio, that does definitely bring back some happy memories.
Yeah.
So, thank you
Yeah,
for that.
that song was released right before my son was born, and I was living with someone at the time, and he played that song every morning before he went to work.
Oh,
And I used to be like, "Oh, this is a great song." What's the name of
yeah,
the songs? Things can only get better. So, yeah, by
yeah,
Howard Jones. Things can only get better by Howard Jones.
good song,
And of course,
good
no
song.
one is to blame. That I love that song, but that's a sad song. But it's a beautiful song too. Well,
Sure,
anyway,
sure,
so yeah, I'm glad that we put you in a little bit of a time warp today and took you back to '85.
absolutely. Yeah, thank
So
you.
yeah, of course. And any other thoughts before we go?
No, not really.
All right.
Just
Well,
everybody
thank
have a good
you.
night and thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you too, of course. Take care. All right, Danny, my big brother from another mother, last man standing, and I'd have it no other way. What are your final thoughts for the evening?
Well, of course, I'm going live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific time with Grandpa Danny's Place. We're doing gospel music of faith and hope for those people that are loved that type of music. Please join me for a couple hours. And probably the most important thing I'd like to say today is don't look down on somebody unless you're going to help them get up.
There you go. Those are powerful words. That is the concept of compassion, and I think if everyone if everyone had a default setting of compassion, literally everything in the world would change.
Yep,
And I know that
absolutely.
sounds woo woo and fucking, kumbaya. And most people know that I'm not like that. So I feel safe saying that. Like, I honestly believe if, like, I think it would be impossible for people to do what they do to each other and have the attitudes that they have if they led with compassion, because when you lead with compassion, you understand a couple things. You understand that there's no reason to judge someone else. And the second thing you understand is because you are likely to have either done that before or will do it in the future.
Right.
If you look down on someone because they're poor, you might be poor one day, you
Yep,
know? And if you look down on someone for whatever reason, that reason could befall you. And
that's
if you
true.
understand that, you're exercising compassion, so you say, "Hey, there but for the grace go I, so let me reach out my hand and help this person rather than judge them, condemn them, or hate them." And I think compassion eliminates so much negativity. I think I'm being conservative if I say that compassion would eliminate 99% of the horrible shit that goes on in the world.
That's correct. I agree with you 1000%.
So thank you for bringing that up. That's a good thing to think about.
But with that, I thanks for having me up. And as always, it's a pleasure, little brother. And as I always say, fuck Donald Trump and save Iran from the genocide of that asshole.
There you go. Absolutely. All right, Danny, have a great night. All right, folks, if you've never joined Danny on his lives, you're going to want to do that. It's a lot of fun. We just did Trivial Pursuit yesterday, and it just somehow it stays fun. We even when we hear the same question 5 times, because, and I don't mean 5 times in one night. I mean, cumulatively over time, we still don't remember, even though we've heard them 5 times. And that's funny. The fact that the questions themselves are funny, the answers are funny, the crosstalk is funny. All of it's funny. And Danny throws in some music trivia during Trivial Pursuit, where he plays themes from TV and film and asks us to name them. And even some real obscure stuff people are naming. And there's some popular stuff that people have no idea about. So it's just a fun time all around, people. So follow Danny to get in on that. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He goes live at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Figure it out for your fucking time zone. I can't be bothered, okay? So join us there. And everybody that came through today on the panel, in the chat, thank you so much for being here. I am off tomorrow, but I'm hopefully back Monday, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Love you all. Peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.